We are live. This is an epic episode, if there's ever been one. Mr. Jason W. Gallo, welcome, welcome, welcome. It is so nice to have you.
Excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I am thrilled about the topics we're going to talk about. We're going to dive into your philosophy of leadership, talk a little bit about Splunk, talk a little bit about AI and the channel. But before we get into all of that, there are some things that people don't know about you, that even I am still learning about you, that I think have this beautiful human element to it. In fact, as I was talking about, so tell me a little bit about yourself. The first thing that you said is, I have an incredible wife and family. That says all I want to know right there. And so I'll start right there. You have two beautiful teenage kids that are insanely brilliant. They're at one of the top high schools. I think your daughter is already in high school looking at getting into what is it?
Simulation and digital twin simulation. Yep.
Wild. I mean, it says a lot about you as a father and a parent. And then as a husband, um, I think it says a lot about someone who has a very strong partner, and your face glows when you talk about your wife. And she is absolutely incredible. Columbia graduate, is an executive as well herself. And here's something else I didn't know about you, is that you have multiple master's degrees. I knew you were extremely educated, but I didn't realize how educated you were, and just incredibly impressive. So before we kind of dive into all of the difficult questions I have for you today, and for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. And yeah, appreciate that intro. It's exciting to have walked in a lot of those steps previously and built the experience set that I have. I have been just really blessed and favored to have been around a great set of people who have challenged me. Like you mentioned, multiple masters. A lot of that was really just a quest to seek more knowledge and be around people who can push me to whatever that next step was that I could achieve. So engineering, I got to give credit to my mom. Ever since Brooklyn Tech, I'm a Brooklyn kid at heart. So Brooklyn Tech High School, you kind of have to pick a major, and she was like, "You're going to be an engineer." I didn't know what an engineer was, but it at least gave me the love of technology, which has kind of resulted in all of the great experiences I've had from working at incredible companies like Hewlett Packard and Johnson Controls. I was actually on the technical side at doing some consulting for Goldman Sachs at one point in my career. So just incredible opportunity to see technology up close. And then nothing has been better than the 16 years at Cisco, where I've been exposed to just amazing innovation after innovation in this role that I have that cuts across all of these exciting technologies and gives me a chance to, and I think, as you mentioned, we'll talk a little bit about it later, not only be at the cutting edge of our technology, but the cutting edge of some of these acquisitions and get to see them come in early and what they can bring to our channel partners.
Exactly. And what's so incredibly important about your skill set is not just your breadth of knowledge around technology and business, and of course the channel and how it all comes together, but also your background and your esteemed education on the finance side. So really understanding, how does business meet technology, and what does that mean for a business when they invest, and how does that look? What are those use cases? So I think that's a very unique perspective. It's a very interesting background to have both finance and tech, but I applaud you nonetheless. That's something I could never do. So I'm very impressed.
I will tell you, early in my career, I had a mentor who pushed me and he said, it's great that you've got the technical side. And obviously, had been exposed to sales and that piece. But if you really want to understand the language of business, make sure you pursue, the economics and the finance. And I went back, had the wonderful opportunity to go to the University of Chicago, the Booth School of Business, and got my MBA there, specifically in finance and strategy. And so that gave me that way to apply the technical knowledge into these use cases that we've been sharing and building with our channel partners all these years.
Exactly. I'm really looking forward to diving in, and I can only imagine how it's influenced your philosophy on leadership. Again, you've amassed an incredible career. There's no doubt about it. You've been at Cisco for 16 years. You've been a global leader for a large part of that. You are in some of the largest circles and plugged in with some of the most incredible leaders literally in the world. So I'm curious, what is your philosophy on leadership? I don't even know this.
Sure. But I guess I'd start off with maybe a little bit of a personal story, is where I always kind of think of my leadership foundation being, hardened is, as I mentioned earlier, kid from Brooklyn. So got the 1980s version of Brooklyn. I saw my father preaching at Yankee Stadium in front of huge crowds. My mom was actually the third New York City sanitation woman ever and a 9/11 responder, because that's what allowed her to pay for her kids to go to college.
Hmm.
My grandparents were entrepreneurs. They opened up a local store. And they gave me some sales experience as well because I helped them sell their genuine simulated wood. This is genuine simulated wood, and we drove the sales of that. But that left this impression on me that leadership was about being the first to accomplish things and push through the impossible, and always, I guess, was anchored in this philosophy that make sure that you believe that nothing is impossible if you could persevere and push through it. And I think in many ways that kind of led me to enjoying endurance events and things along those lines. But there was a real critical point, I would say, in my personal development where, after the University of Chicago, I was back in Brooklyn, a bunch of friends kind of hanging out. And one friend was going through, a crisis, really a life crisis. And my advice to him was, look, you have to step up and you got to push through your limits and all those things that I had kind of anchored my belief in. But I had missed the point. For him, it was much more than just someone essentially telling him all their faults at that point. And again, this is Brooklyn, so communication breakdown went sideways really quickly, and I had to learn from that. And so, fast forward a few years, and another friend of mine, he had asked me to complete the Grand Canyon Rim to Rim Challenge. And essentially, in one day, you walk across the entire Grand Canyon. And by mile 15, my mind was just giving up. And he had instructed me previously with a notebook, and it's like, all right, well, let's have a set of deep thought questions. And so the time just kind of passed by mile 20, my body started to give out. And luckily, again, he had given me these instructions: pack an extra pair of socks, pack some electrolytes for your water. And that kind of like gave me those extra boosts I needed. But by mile 24, my legs, they literally gave out. And he sat on the ground with me, and he really helped me understand, like, okay, we can do this, but let's take periodic steps. And so by leaning on the ground, sitting on the ground, whatever it took, we just took 5 more steps and then we stopped. We took another 5 steps. So all in all, after mile 24, we still did the final 4 miles in that sort of a cadence where we made that continuous progress together. And what was so special about that moment for me is that I learned what I hadn't done in that, Brooklyn scenario back with my friend, which was, yes, it is about being the first to believe in a vision, or knowing that the impossible is actually possible, and demonstrating that for others around you as a leader, showing them that that behavior, modeling that behavior that you want them to follow is possible. But all along the way, you have to really empower people with the proper tools so that they're unlocking their unique characteristics, their unique contributions, and then stay with them along that journey, and make sure they hit the goal. And that was a critical learning for me in terms of leadership, and how to round out that leadership and not just be the leader that's saying, oh, you can do it and you can get better and you can push through, give you the tools to succeed.
Wow. As somebody who did my first marathon, I know exactly what you mean. And it's so funny. Everyone's like, around mile, 16, 18, you're going to start to hit a wall. And I was running and I'm going. And I thought I was fine at mile 16, 17, 18, but then mile 20 hit. And that's, to your point, when I just all fell down. And when you don't have those skills, when you don't have that person either next to you or mentally in your head going, this is what you can do, these are the steps to take. And you said something else that's so incredibly powerful, and it will stick with me for the rest of my life, which is just take 5 more steps. Don't look at the entire, marathon or the entire rim to rim challenge. Just look at the next 5 steps. Focus on that. What does that mean? What does that look like for you? And it doesn't always look like you're running or you're walking. Sometimes it looks like you said you are clawing at those, trying to get there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very powerful.
Break it
Yeah.
down into digestible pieces.
How do you do that? I mean, because you have such a massive team and you've led such huge teams. How do you do that for folks who either are resistant or don't have that same? You have grit, you have resilience, you have drive. There is just no doubt about it, and you're incredibly intelligent, and you've invested in yourself. It's just true, So, what do you do for some of those folks that maybe don't have the same mindset, maybe the same set of skills, the same access, whatever it might be? Was there something that that gentleman did for you that we can instill in our teams, because we're dealing with so many different personalities? Is there something that he had that we can kind of, steal from or use?
Yes, I would say in general, if you think about equipping your team, think about equipping the team. And I think
Right.
sometimes we may focus just in on an individual, and that person needs to change. Where really what needs to change is the culture of the whole team. And I've seen various leaders who isolate individuals accidentally because they're so focused on just changing that individual's behavior. It just becomes about you and the individual. Whereas if you have that difficult person and the whole culture is influencing the culture of the team, is influencing the behavior and reinforcing whatever that shared vision is, then it becomes much more powerful. One of the best learning workshops that I took here at Cisco, there was this whole concept of make sure that you optimize the team environment so that the best of me interacts or intersects with the best of we.
Mhm.
And I've always tried to live by that. Once I had that, it just kind of clicked for me. I was like, yeah, make sure the team is reinforcing the behavior, and it's not just you, because it can come across like you as the leader are overly focused on a single individual and getting them to change. But if they see that the whole team is, again, the best of we is pulling together in a certain direction, they'll naturally kind of elevate themselves to enhance that dynamic
Right.
in their unique way.
Yeah, God, that's so good. And I'm even like kind of reflecting on my own, and I'm sure everybody here watching now too is doing the same. But you're right. We can tend to focus on either, I thrive on connections. I love. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I love results. I'm a numbers person. We just finished actually an enablement program for you for your teams, and we got our perfect fives for 5 out of 5 sessions were perfect. I live off of that stuff. But for me, and I think a lot of high performers, you see that one little ding or that one person on the team and you can hyper focus and kind of miss the point. So for you saying, hey, take a look at the team, you're right. And then rising tides, right? Everybody else will bring them along. And then all of a sudden, I wonder too if it alleviates a lot of that pressure off of that person, but also the leader. Then
Yes.
all of a sudden, you really are acting as a team because now you're bringing each other up and helping each other. Yeah. Ah,
And it becomes self-reinforcing. I think the more that the team is reinforcing that behavior, to your point, it takes it off of the leader, and then it'll grow into other best practices, and so it becomes a self-reinforcing cycle for everyone to get better and explore what they can bring to the table.
And then talk about, really talking the talk as a, and walking the walk. So many people talk about culture, but this is something where you're really walking in those footsteps and enforcing it by action, as opposed to just talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of the philosophies. We're talking about leadership here, is what are some of those characteristics of a great leader, and the culture that I try and reinforce is I call it chai leadership, CHIII, so three I's. But make sure you have the common touch, like everyone can relate, and nobody is like so elite or above. I've seen like leadership structures where they're
Sure.
so hierarchical, it doesn't allow for that common touch. So that's the C. The H is all about honesty. I feel like if you have a team environment or you as a leader set the culture such that there's just mutual kind of honesty, even if that honesty means you're bringing things to the table that are challenges or failures. But honesty needs to be the key principle. And then sometimes honesty is beyond just saying, here's what's happened, but it's an ability to talk about conflict in an open way. And there was a saying that said, conflict with trust is the pursuit of truth. Conflict without trust is politics. And so the more you can take the politics out of the team through that lens of honesty, again, I think it changes the culture. The three I's: intelligence, focus on continuous learning, continuous enablement. Everyone is always going to, seek knowledge. Intuition, how can we be leaders of leaders and
Hmm.
make sure that we're trying to see around corners where others may not have seen that next 5 steps ahead. But you can kind of show them through your intuition what's coming. People talk about gut feel. Not ignoring that should be a part of the culture. Like everyone who's in the leadership team should have a finely tuned gut, and then being able to talk about, listen to that. And then last but not least, and this is I think part of what you talked about in the question itself, is inspiration, and being an inspirational leader such that you motivate others on a mass scale is, I think, a leadership characteristic, a part of a team culture that people sometimes miss. Yes, it's about the hard work. Yes, it's about accomplishing goals. But can you go out and inspire others through words and actions, and be effective and inspirational in all the things that you do?
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. And I never thought about the inspiration part. I think I'm naturally very Pollyanna,
I
as
wouldn't
good
call
or
you
bad as that is.
Pollyanna.
What's that?
I wouldn't call you Pollyanna, though. Yeah. I love your energy, but not Pollyanna.
There you go. All right. I'll take that. But I mean, I know we have this like time constraint, but as you were talking, I'm like, see, this is why we have him on the slide. I mean, Jason, you're just so good. This is so good. And I would love to dive deeper into it. And I know we're under a time constraint because we try to keep these lives, within about 20 minutes. But I would love to unpack that some more at another time. It's just such a good concept that so many leaders struggle with. I can't tell you how many leaders, because we're all friends. We all talk behind the scenes, when our cameras come down and we just call each other on the cell. And I can't tell you how many are struggling right now. It
Mhm.
is a very interesting time in our industry, in our world. We just got out of a pandemic, and now we're trying to figure out what does this mean for us. AI is taking over by storm. There's been some fairly hefty layoffs across the board. I just saw another, major tech vendor has some other pretty hefty layoffs coming up. It's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot of good going on, and then there's a lot of, frankly, scary. So for you to give us those tools and those things to think about is inspirational in and of itself. It really is. We need this. We need people like you to say, "Hey, look, it is hard, but here's what I did, 5 steps at a time. I will use that for the rest of my life, 5 steps at a time. Here we go." Just however we need to get there. So thank you for that.
I'm glad I
So
could help.
thank you. So I know everybody wants to talk about Splunk. Everyone wants to talk about Cisco's AI strategy. I don't know what you can tell me, but maybe let's start there. What can you tell us?
Sure. Yeah. So super excited about both of those areas, Splunk and ultimately, our AI strategy. Maybe I'll start with Splunk. I think we're, about a week or two after some of the key announcements of how we were able to accelerate the actual closing of the deal, which everyone in Cisco and Splunk is super excited about. We think that the coming together of these two companies is going to represent just an amazing force within the technology industry. We're dubbing it kind of better together. And I think it's so true, both for our customers, but also for our partners, as our partners look at, and we have a lot of shared partners as we really looked at the channel, just the cutting edge technology that both companies bring to bear. And you harness the best network on the planet, best security on the planet, with now an incredible security data observability platform in Splunk. And I think we're just going to see some things that we haven't even dreamed up yet, and moving into this fully powered platform. The beauty of that also, again, and maybe it's because I'm a little biased sitting in the partner organization, is when you start to move towards a platform, as Splunk is bringing us, our partners get to build on top of it. And so the open, extensible elements of the strategy are going to just flourish, bringing these two concepts together.
Yeah. Yeah. I can tell you, because we work so closely with the channel and distribution, of course, as well as Cisco and other vendors. But the channel is eager. The channel is very eager to learn more. I was just on with the South African group of a major player, major channel player at Cisco. And this was one of the first topics they brought up. How are we going to respond to this? What's our play? How do we help, to your point? What's our better together story? So it's exciting. Do you have any words of wisdom, or maybe a mini roadmap on what partners can expect? And if not, again, I'm asking questions I don't know if you can even answer. But you don't get an answer if you don't ask. So I might as well try.
Certainly, certainly. So we're going to continue to drive both businesses as we finish out our fiscal year that we're in the middle of. Look for much more connections between our sales teams, our
Great.
partner teams, as we go into what will be Cisco's Q4. And then we're looking to drive a lot more of the acquisition integration, and bring the two companies together towards our Q1. So I'd say in general, look for that. But where can partners get started right now? If you haven't looked at some of the key, I'd say, use cases that these platforms really drive around observability. And so I know a lot of our partners have really started to engage in full stack observability, the whole melt stack, metrics, events, logs, traces, and how that can help teams get to faster resolution across their, SecOps and DevOps teams, and ultimately into the AI ops side. Observability is something you have to explore. Great business opportunity, great TAM, and enhanced by the capabilities that we're going to have through Splunk. But the second area, and probably the biggest and hottest area, is security. And they bring together elements of the SIM and SOAR elements, with combine that with what we're doing in XDR, and the simplification of our security suites. I think the time is right now to, well, frankly, it's past if you're not jumping on the security opportunity. It's huge. But definitely the time is now to expand in the core elements of security out through the cloud and user protection side, that security elements and suites that Cisco's offering. Because when all of that comes together with Splunk, it is going to be an unstoppable machine.
Yeah. Yeah. I am very excited to see what comes out of Cisco and Splunk. I'm going to stop calling them Splunk very soon because it's Cisco now. But exactly to your point, I think well, first of all, yeah, you can't. this isn't a, maybe one day we'll invest in this. This is you should have invested in, you need to be investing now. So I'm excited to see what comes up. And thank you for giving us at least a little bit of a roadmap and some insights on, okay, where can I start? What do I do now, to kind of prepare myself as a channel partner?
Yeah,
what can you tell us about Cisco's AI strategy?
sure. So what I would say is, and it kind of relates to Splunk, if you think about all of the underpinning capabilities you need to get to a future of true kind of generative AI, it will require massive amount of data and understanding that type of data at scale. And that is one of the things that, like we just talked about, Cisco now has. But beyond even just Splunk, we've been doing that for a while when it comes to the breadth and scale of data. We handle 400 billion security events per day. There's 630 billion observability metrics that we look at. So scale is something that is just a part of Cisco, and the ability to have scale at a high quality has always kind of been a cornerstone of how we operate. But beyond the scale and breadth of that data is the infrastructure itself. And as a distributed architecture, AI requires the connectivity, the secure connectivity that only Cisco can offer. And we've done that at the underpinning level, the chipset level with Silicon One. We launched that back in 2019. We now have 14 different versions of Silicon One, single chip doing over 50 terabits a second. That's the type of horsepower you need in the underpinning infrastructure as you connect things going forward, and only Cisco can deliver that. The other thing that has been really world class when it comes to our thought leadership, I believe, is where we're headed with Ethernet. And there's new standards around Ultra Ethernet and how to really push the envelope on what the investment that a lot of our customers have made with us for years now in Ethernet, how to expand that into this AI ready compute world. And we're going to be driving that through an industry alliance on the Ultra Ethernet side. But maybe most important, or just as important, is the fact that AI comes with great responsibility. And you have to have a level of governance. And I think Cisco, as a company that's been the best place to work and has won numerous awards for purpose-driven approaches and having diversity, equity, and inclusion, and all of those things, and you apply that to a world where AI has to have a responsible framework. And I think that's a strength for us. And we announced in 2022 a responsible AI framework that we came out with. And there's things that we're doing that our customers may not even see, where the training models, we're not using live customer data. So those security events I talked about earlier, we don't train those models with actual emails from our customers. We've purchased 20 million, or we built out, invested in, I should say, a set of 20 million synthetic emails to help train those type of threat hunting use cases or models that can find and be applied to those use cases. Those are the sort of responsible AI investments that I think a lot of vendors need to put into place as we all approach, this next stage of what AI is going to mean to the world. And a lot of that only comes from a company, back to our earlier comment, where the culture is set up in a way that it's not just about profit; it's about where that profit meets purpose.
Ooh, nicely said. I wish we had another 30 minutes just to talk about this. This is one of the most important topics. I would say at this point, probably 70% of our engagements are around building AI messaging solutions strategy. It is only getting bigger and better, but there's a lot of responsibility to it. And if we don't understand that, I think we're missing a major, major component to our AI strategy. And the fact, I didn't realize that Cisco came out with that framework in 2022. I think that says a lot. Jason, I know we're already 10 minutes over. I'm so sorry.
No
But
worries.
I have so many more questions for you. And I've got to tell you, this has been a highlight of these lives and of my day for sure. Um, I have learned so much. And like I said, I have so many more questions for you. And I'm sure other people watching this will as well. For those who maybe want to follow you or learn more from you, where can they find you? Are you blogging anywhere or your opinions anywhere? Can they follow you on LinkedIn or where can they find you?
Absolutely. So on LinkedIn, Jason W. Gallo. On X, which I still use that platform to some extent, it's at Jason W. Gallo. And then certainly there's a whole blog space with all of the different blogs. As a part of my role in Cisco is to help drive the new launches in some of the areas that we're driving out through our go-to-market strategy. And so follow me there and get to learn about all the new and exciting things that Cisco's bringing to market.
I will make sure that those links are in the comments and in the description. I think it's very important that we get knowledgeable about this. It's important that you're following people and learning from people. You know, you and I are both lovers of learning. So I think it's incredibly important for folks to follow intelligent minds in this space, especially as they're making their own investments and helping, steer other organizations in their investments. So thank you for this. You are a wonderful human, an exceptional leader. And like I said, I've already learned so much just in our 20, 30 minutes today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Sabrina.
See you next time. All right. See ya.